Welcome to this edition of Safety First. I'm your host, Tim Kelly, joined again by our Fire Marshal, Lieutenant Charles Chapin, who's with the Suffolk Fire and Rescue Department, of course, to talk about Fire Prevention Week. And really, is it almost kind of Fire Prevention Month, correct?
It's Fire Prevention Year.
Okay, there you go. Good idea.
Fire prevention is a year-round event.
Yes.
Subsequently, NFPA has Fire Prevention Week, which is normally the first week in October.
Correct.
And they have different themes associated with the different years. You know, we had the smoke detectors for a few years, you know, listen, hear the beep where you sleep, you know, some of those things. And now this year they've kind of tailored it more towards a whole skew of fire prevention items that really can protect you not only in your home but within your community.
And we're not talking about things that are rocket science, so to speak. I mean, we're talking a very simple approach to things, common sense approach for folks that help them stay safe and mean that to a certain degree they don't have to see folks rolling up in the fire truck, which of course is what you prefer, but at the same time, just the basic knowledge to be safe, like you said, around whether you're at home, at work, wherever you are, to be aware of things. And this year's theme is really just 3 words, correct?
Yes.
Very simple.
Very simple. This year's theme is look, listen, and learn. Be aware, fire can happen anywhere. Clearly, it can't get much simpler than that.
Correct.
You know, when we talk about fire safety, whether you're at home, whether you're in the municipal center here in the city, if you're in the fire station, if you're at Target, you know, grocery shopping, you need to be aware of what's going on, your surroundings, and truly, I mean, look, listen, and learn. It's so simple, but yet people take it for granted. When an emergency takes place, they haven't done their homework and they don't know what to do, where to go, where the exits are. So it truly is very easy. And I think this year's theme, you can have a lot of fun with it. So, you know, when we talk about look, we're looking for places that fire could start, whether it's in your home. Look for hazards, extension cords plugged in, circuit breakers that are tripping out because you've got all your entertainment systems plugged in and a 72-inch, you know, LED screen TV, a computer, microwave, and all of a sudden the breaker keeps tripping. That's not telling you that, you know, there's something wrong with your equipment. That's telling you that your circuit is overloaded. And over time, that potentially could lead to overheating of the equipment, and then a fire potentially could break out if the breaker failed and didn't do what it was supposed to do. Some of the other things, you know, if you have that type of a situation, get a certified, qualified electrician to come in and look at these things. It's not something that you just go in, turn the breaker back on, and forget about it. Because if it's happening consistently, there's something that needs to happen, and that's where you want to get a qualified person to come out and take a look at it. So like you said, at 2 o'clock in the morning, you don't have the fire truck showing up and, you know, having to go in and potentially get your family out. Along those same lines, though, in the event that unfortunate incident did occur, that say the circuit was overloaded and now we have a fire in the wall, you know, hopefully you've got working smoke detectors. You're checking them once a month. You're making sure that when the clocks change, you're changing the batteries. Making sure that the detector is over, if it's over 10 years old, you want to replace it. But the key to the listen side of it is if the smoke starts to get up and then it activates the detector, that's what you're listening. You're listening to hear that working smoke detector, which in turn is going to allow you to wake up, effectively get your family out, and we get there, put the fire out, and everybody's safe. You know, there could be loss as far as, you know, tangible things, but those can be replaced. A life can't. So if you don't have those working smoke detectors, you may not get out. When you do exit, making sure that you've done your exit drill, you know, have a plan. Where's your meeting place? So when the fire department pulls up, you're there, you can say, Johnny's missing. Well, where's the last place you saw Johnny? He was in his bed when I kissed him goodnight. Where's his bed located at? And then we're gonna go in and go right to where that room is and potentially look for Johnny and get him out. So again, doing all of those things that over the past 10 years with the different themes, it all ties into those 3 simple things. And then learn. You know, we talk about you're at work. You know, what's your fire drill plan? Do you practice it at work? I know here in the city, you know, we're constantly doing evacuation drills. We're testing the PA system here in the municipal center.
Yes.
But again, you know, it's not just the employees that work here. It's for the citizens that come in here.
Right.
And the employees needing to know that, hey, if you see somebody wandering, you need to assist that person and get them to that exit, and being aware of your surroundings, where you're located. You know, we're creatures of habit, and you normally will come in the same door, right. You'll leave out the same door.
Yes.
Well, what happens when you get to that door and there's smoke or fire that's blocking that exit? Do you truly know where that second access point is? You know, and now you've got smoke and everything else. So, you know, it's not just in the home, it's right. Anywhere you go.
Right. And I think, you know, a great example of something that we just went through and thankfully really didn't go through was Hurricane Florence, in the sense that people think, okay, I know it's hurricane season, all right, we know that, but do you know what to do? Do you know what know your zone is? I mean, I know everybody was scrambling, what zone am I in? Am I in a zone? I'm not in a zone. What does that mean? All that stuff. People learned, hopefully learned a very valuable lesson. Hampton Roads was very lucky. Our neighbors to the south, not so much, but that was an opportunity to find out. But it may have been a crash course because you didn't know, okay, I'm going to scramble to do all this. Do you have your kit together? You know, you go to stores, everybody's taking water and bread, you know, the usual, you know, some of those things you could have had prepared ahead of time. And I'm tying that into this because of the fact of people get complacent. I think you talked about that to a certain degree, where you think, if fire happens, we know what to do. Then it happens and you don't. That's not what you want to have happen. Like you said, you can have that escape route, but practice it, you know, with the family, with the business, as you talked about, knowing where to go. If that route is done, or you can't go out there, have that, you know, the extra, the other avenue. If you can't go left, can you go right? Do you know where right is, so to speak? That maybe that door is in a different place, or that window's in a different location to escape route. So again, connecting with the hurricane, just people think they're prepared, but until it happens, you really don't know. And with a fire, you want to know.
Correct.
You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And a really good example of this, and you know, we've got our award ceremony coming up the end of next month.
Right.
But we have a young gentleman that attended one of our fire camps, the kids camps, and during the camp, they have to do a fun work project. We don't call it homework because it's, you know, summer vacation, but they're fun work.
Yeah.
And they have to do an escape plan for their home. Along with that, they need to practice it. They need to get their guardian, mom, dad, whoever lives in the house, the adults in on it, and they practice it. And then they turn it in, it gets reviewed, and they're allowed to go on the obstacle course on Thursday. That's their reward for doing their fire safety plan. Well, this gentleman subsequently lives outside of the city, but he had a fire in his garage, and he heard the popping and the crackling, and based on his going to camp and learning about fire and doing the fire safety plan and doing his exit drills with his family, his brother was actually in the room over top of the garage that was on fire. He in turn went inside, got his brother, his parents were on the other end of the house, got them out, went to the meeting place, and when the fire department got there, they couldn't believe how well the people were just not nervous. They weren't, their house was obviously on fire, but they had practiced it so much that he knew exactly what to do when it came time for it, and he subsequently told the fire department that he had learned that in camp. Well, that young gentleman is going to get a civilian award for at our award ceremony, and that's exactly what this Fire Prevention Week theme is all about. Is, you know, look, listen, and learn, and if you follow those simple steps, you know, again, you know, you can never be too safe when it comes to fire safety, and knowing those two ways out is very important. The other thing that, you know, we really are driving now, along with the smoke detectors in the bedrooms, is sleep with your bedroom door closed. A lot of the studies and everything that have been done in reference to bedroom doors being opened or closed, the data is there to support that you need to sleep with your bedroom door closed, because it's going to keep the fire on the outside. It's going to take longer for the smoke to get in there. But if the smoke does start to seep in there and you have just a regular battery operated smoke detector in the bedroom, they're not hardwired together to where they all go off. At that point that the smoke starts to set that detector off, you're not going to just go to your door and open it up. again, you want to check the door to make sure if it's hot. If it's hot, you're not going to open it because potentially that fire is going to be on the other side. But we've seen multiple occasions here in the city on investigations that we've done to where the door is closed and you might have some smoke staining within the room where the smoke has gotten in, but you don't have that burn pattern where it actually came around the door jamb and came in and started to burn up the walls.
Sure.
That's so important. And a lot of, parents, myself included, you're nervous because, well, I can't hear what the kids are doing. Or if somebody calls for me, how am I going to hear them?
Right.
But you get to that point where you've got to keep your doors shut, and it's going to save your life potentially, and it's going to allow you extra time to make that notification, to get to a window, to do what you need to do to get out of the house when we get there.
Right.
So.
Well, you mentioned about the young man who had the escape plan, and I look at the graphic you have there, and the character on the front of that looks a little cartoony, and I know that y'all do a great job of getting out to schools. And certainly you talk about practicing evacuation plans. We can all remember back when we were little, doing our evacuation drills from schools and going out there and talking to and parents think, great, the kids know what to do, but if there's a disconnect between what the children know and what the parents know, and the children might be prepped for school evacuation, but do they know what to do in the home? Obviously that young man did, and he's the one that kind of seemed like drove that boat, so to speak, with getting the plan in place, getting it together, and then knowing what to do. You just talked about the fact he went and got his brother. I mean, but it's kind of a false sense of security where parents think the kids know what to do because the firefighters came to the school or they know their drill there, but bringing it into the home or the place of business or whatever is the important thing, correct?
Absolutely. And the biggest thing that we found with that is, there was a study done, probably it's well dated now, but they went into 3 families' homes and they set the smoke detector off, they used the smoke machine, and the kids, they slept through the smoke detectors. The smoke alarm went off, they stayed in bed. They would have perished if it was a real fire. Subsequently, they gave them 30 days to practice, and then they went back and did the same exact test and filmed it the whole 9 yards, and these kids excelled. They got out because they practiced it.
Right.
When you think about the schools, they do fire drills, the first week or 2 of school, they do at least 2, and then subsequently once every month they have to do one per the state code.
Right.
And the kids get up, they know what to do. Well, one of the things that we're trying to work with the school on is not getting them into that mindset of creatures of habit.
Right.
To where you come out of the classroom, you go down the hall, you go left, and then you go out those doors.
Right.
Change it up.
Yeah.
Have a custodial staff stay there and say, hey, you can't go this way. This is blocked. There's a pretend fire here.
Yeah.
That's what's going to really tell the tale of, are the teachers engaged?
Yes.
Do they know what that second path
Sure.
to get out is versus that, one that we do all the time over and over and over again.
Right.
The same thing in the home.
Yeah.
If you're practicing it with your children and the smoke alarm goes off and they're, looking around, if there's smoke, they get down or they're going to the door and going to the meeting place, that's working.
Yeah.
When, the smoke alarm does go off and it's nothing and mom and dad don't go outside to the meeting place, or what message is that giving the kids? Well, it's just a smoke, the smoke alarm went off and we don't know why.
Right.
Could it be an accidental activation? Absolutely.
Sure.
And 9 times out of 10 that's what it is. But if you get into that mindset of you hear that smoke detector and then you become complacent, that one time, that 10% is going to be the time that potentially you could have a loss of life as a result of that. So it's very important to do those exit drills at home just as much as the kids are doing them in school, and change it up. A lot of times you'll do it to where before you go to bed you do it, or first thing in the morning you're doing it. But if the parents or guardians go out for dinner and the kids are with the babysitter, you get home and it's 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. Set the smoke alarm off then and see how the kids react. Because if the kids are awake, laying in their bed, and they know that you're going to test it, it doesn't really. It's great repetition and muscle memory of what needs to happen. But when they wake up from a dead sleep and now all of a sudden, the lights aren't on and the smoke alarm's going off, what are they going to do? And that's truly when you find out how well
you
really know what your plan is.
Well, I think, in a perfect world, it's a bright sunny day, it's 2 o'clock on the dot, we're doing this, we're doing that, we're proceeding this way, and we're turning left, and we're going, and in a perfect world, that's how everything would work. But that's not how these situations happen. You talk about, if you're doing it at midnight or 11:30, the kids are asleep and wake. What do they? That's the true test. And I think I've seen the video that you talked about where they did the smoke, and the parents, I think, seeing that were just, oh my gosh, they don't know. And then when they saw it the second time, it was that sense of relief because they'd gone through and prepped them and got them to understand this is what you need to do when this happens. But that first sense of they really don't know what they don't know. Or, and that's the scary thing.
It is, and that, like I said, that video itself is outdated, and that's something that potentially we would look to maybe go into the schools and see if we can get, a family that would, or 2 or 3 that would volunteer and with your cooperation be able to do this and take that message and get it out there to. This is why it is so important to practice these things because again, 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a sunny day. All right, well, smoke alarm went off. Where are we going to go? We go outside and go to the meeting place. Right. But all bets are off when it's 4 o'clock in the morning. Your house is filled with smoke, and a lot of times you're testing it in not fire conditions.
Correct.
You're setting it off, and it might be pitch black dark in the house, but there's no smoke.
Right.
Now couple that with having smoke, and it gives a whole new element to what you need to prepare yourself for.
And certainly, every year when Fire Prevention Week rolls around, we talk about this, and what you want to have is a year, where there is no loss of life or everybody is out as safely. There's no injuries as a result of anything, because unfortunately there will be incidents that will happen, and the key is knowing what to do when they do happen. Is what we're talking about today. But continuing to get that message out there and knowing that it is certainly a family. A business perspective approach where you need to make sure everybody's on the same page. You get a new employee or a new member of the family or whatever, then you have to accommodate for that. You talk about City Hall. If we have visitors to City Hall, staff needs to know what to do because that's a new element that you don't have the same person visit every day at the same time. So you have different variations in there that you need to be able to play off of that and knowing, okay, this is the game plan, let's work it. And that's the way to be successful, I think, with these objectives, and certainly with what you and Suffolk Fire and Rescue are out there talking about year-round. Like you said, it's not just the 1 week. You do kind of focus it, but year-round, you're talking to people, get in front of people, have the camps. You're in the schools. You're talking with businesses and things like that to make sure people are thinking about this. And once you know it, but you got to continue to practice it. And if there's you have a new addition to the home, you move in a new home, you got to change it up because you now have a different set of circumstances.
And the other side of it too is, during the summer, during the holiday season, people take vacations. They go places. People that have timeshares, people that, go visit family, it's not only just at home. When you're vacationing, you're in a hotel. You are totally out of your element when you're in a hotel. How many people truly look at that evacuation plan on the back of the door? How many people are truly researching to determine whether or not the hotel or timeshare has a sprinkler system, has a fire alarm system? Again, those are things that you're going to want to give yourself that peace of mind, knowing that you're adequately protected.
Right.
Look for those type of facilities that have those things built in versus a facility that doesn't have smoke alarms, that doesn't have a sprinkler system. Again, those are all added safety things that are built in. And knowing that evacuation route when you go to a hotel. A lot of people they check in, they get their key, they go to their room, they go down.
The last thing they're thinking of, right?
They could find their way to the pool or find their way to the bar or the restaurant.
Right.
But what happens, when they need to get out in a hurry? How it's so simple that, we came up in the elevator, we're going to go here and go to the elevator, but the exit to the stairwell is 2 doors down. They're not looking at that exit because they don't. That's not the way they came. So, it's a whole big picture of just life in general every day. Again, from your home, work, places of worship, all of those. I mean, be cognizant of your surroundings and know your exits.
And it's not like life comes with an airline employee that's going, okay, your exits are here,
Exactly.
look for the closest one, and you have that little moment before you take off or before you do whatever that you've got someone giving you that. Like you said, you need to kind of reach out on your own. And if you talk about vacations, hadn't quite thought about that before. Like you say, you're in a different environment. A fire is the last thing you're thinking about. You want to go to the beach, or we're going to get everything stowed, or we're going to relax and we have a busy day tomorrow at the theme park, or whatever the case would be, but you're not thinking about fire escape routes and whatever, and knowing your surroundings. And it's not like you have to be, you know, like your head on a swivel, but just take some stock in where you are, right?
Yeah. I mean, you take the MGM fire in Las Vegas that they had, you know, that was, those people, when they checked in, they had no, you know, that wasn't on their, they were ready to go spend money and or lose money at the casinos, or they were there for a show. You know, they weren't there for potentially a fire to break out, and you know, it's just, you don't think of those things when you're because we're on vacation. We got to get to that theme park. We got to be there early so we can get in line. So
fire's not even on
it truly isn't. So, and that, you know, that goes whether it's fire safety, whether it's, you know, public safety from, you know, stranger danger, from terrorism. I mean, it's always, you know, the biggest thing to take from this is, you know, look, listen, learn. Keep your head on a swivel, know your exits. And then, you know, unfortunately in today's society, you know, you've got to be cognizant to things that look out of place. And if you see something, say something. You know, that goes a long way in today's society, unfortunately, but it's the same thing with fire safety. If you see something that you think is unsafe fire-wise, you know, let somebody know that. And they'll report it to the subsequent, you know, authority, and it'll be investigated. So, but again, look, listen, learn. It's so simple.
Yes, it is.
So I really appreciate you having us on today.
And I appreciate you being here. And again, thanks to you and the men and women of the Suffolk Fire and Rescue Department for everything you do. You know, certainly we see the trucks from time to time. You might see an ambulance. You see different areas. They're doing training, or they're helping teach a course or whatever. But they're working year-round, 24/7. They're there in the event that something would happen. But we just appreciate the hard work you do, putting your lives on the line to help us stay safe. And I just want to say thank you to that as well.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. That would do it for this edition of Safety First. I'm your host, Tim Kelly. We'll see you next time.